Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United are back in Premier League action. And what better way to do it than against Hull City? This is the preview for that game. And joining me, as always, is Mr. Joe Smith. Joe, we've waited. Yeah. We've bided our time. We've got through this together. But finally, proper football is back.
I can't believe it. Do you know those those montages of like sun rising and like a little sprout of a leaf coming through the ground and a lamb sort of gambolling across a British countryside?
Yeah, I love gambolling.
And then you see all sorts of like a baby crying and it's like flash, 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 flash. Yeah. And then the final one of them is kick off.
Oh, mate. You've gone full Don Draper on us there. You've just sold us the advert. Well done.
That is what it means.
Yes.
That is what it's up there with any moment in life. The first weekend of the season, the build
I honestly agree with that, you know. I think this game against Hull is up there with any moment in my life. Certainly. But I can't think of a better moment that I've had in my life than us playing Hull.
I can't either. But that first weekend of the season and the build up to it and the joy and the expectation and the unfiltered optimism that you can only have, especially with Man United, for about 2 weeks until you lose to Grimsby in the Carabao Cup. Yeah. It all happens now. We are in it. We need to enjoy this. I mean, I think we're going to be enjoying the full season, but there's nothing quite like those first few moments of a new season. It is the best time of the year. It's incredible.
Wasn't Unfiltered Optimism the name of your plastic surgery clinic?
No, it wasn't my plastics. It was a very, very experimental drinks brand. And by the end, we were filtering the product because it was causing a lot of, microplastics, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. We live and learn.
We do.
As we've said, the new season is here.
Brilliant.
The excitement's here, the enthusiasm, the passion, the optimism, and all the things we've spoken about. You want to talk about some players, though, don't you?
Yeah, because I think we spend a lot of time talking league positions and what's your wobbly, wonky take for the new season. What's going to happen? Who's going to lose their legs? You know, all that sort of stuff that people come up with. And we do that. Everyone does that. It's good fun coming up with the predictions. But I think we don't spend enough time actually looking at the players who play for us and what they need to do this season.
Okay.
Because I always think about this. When we were in that title race, and I'm going to call it a title race in 2019, 2020 or 2020, 21, whichever it was, under Solskjaer, top of the league at New Year's Day, and you said Paul Pogba needs to stay fit, and was it Eric Bailly as well?
I was, my thing was, I remember going on BBC Radio Manchester and they were asking me, because we were top, you're right, and you know how they like try to get you with a gotcha. Oh, you're going to win the league now then. You think, if you don't win the league, it's failure. And I was like, look, I'm not completely deluded, I'm not far off it, but not completely. The only way United could win the league is if all our players that are playing really well, and at the time, Eric Bailly had been man of the match in like 4 of the last 5 games. Pogba had scored like 3 winners out of the last 5 games or whatever it was. Those players both playing really well. I said them two need to stay fit, and everyone else who's doing well, like Bruno or whoever, they need to continue what they're doing. But those 2 players in particular, especially because they had bad injury records, we need them fit. Within a week, they were both injured.
Exactly. And I think that the thing we often forget when it comes to transfers, when it comes to new managers, when it comes to merry-go-rounds, this, that and the other, the thing that wins you titles is the players on the pitch.
Yeah.
And we don't actually spend enough time, especially pre-season, thinking about who actually needs to turn up this season. Yeah. So we've both got 3 names, haven't we?
Yeah.
Mine is the players I think have to have great seasons for us to have a chance of challenging, whether that's for the FA Cup, the league title, whatever it may be.
Okay.
And yours is 3 players that are kind of on a make or break trajectory.
Yeah, I think it's like a bit of a crossroads for him, and I picked 3 of my favourite players. So this isn't me trying to talk them down or be critical or be harsh on them. I think that they need a good season this season. Otherwise, their United career might not go the way I think it should.
Yeah.
Because these are players that I absolutely love, but I'm going to explain it when we get into it. So do you want to start then? Talk us through the players that you want to mention.
So my 3 are players that they have to have a great season for us to contend, much like Pogba and Eric Bailly staying fit. The first one is Senna Lomans, because he is a player 100%. That had massively overachieved compared to expectations last year. He was fantastic. He was the Premier League signing of the season. Was it 22, 23 million? Came in and was immediately one of the best goalies in the league. He just was. His numbers back that up, to the composure, the calmness, all the things that we saw. But he's new, he's young. And he had a bit of a wobbly World Cup. It was a almost non-existent
It was a cameo,
Cup.
wasn't it? But it was a cameo that went wrong.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit bad for him because Courtois made a mistake in that game and then came off injured. horrible scenario to put in, but I get your point. I'm
Coming into a game as a sub, as a second choice keeper, moment. In a pressure game like that is an almost unwinnable situation. It's so difficult to come in and do well. But he didn't do very well. And there's going to be a lot more eyes and a lot more expectation this season. I think he can live up to it. I think he's genuinely excellent. And I think if he just repeated last season, I'd be more than happy with that. But I think he's someone that has to keep being the player we think he is. Because if he slips or if he does allow some sort of, a couple of demons in his head and we start to see some panicking and the sort of things we saw out of Onana after he started making mistakes, that's going to really derail the season. So I think he's really one to look out for. My second one is Youri Tielemans. Maybe slightly obvious, but I think he's going to be replacing a lot of what Casemiro did last season. I know that he might play instead of Mainoo. I'm not saying he's the same player as Casemiro, but we know a midfield of Mainoo and Casemiro is really good when they're both fit and they're both firing. I think Tielemans is now the senior figure in that midfield. If Baleba comes in, we know Santos is young, we know Mainoo is young. It's a really, really young set of players, except for Youri Tielemans. And I think he has to be at least the player that we've seen at Villa. Because he's not getting any younger. So he's probably going to be as good as he's ever going to be this year.
Okay.
And it has to be as good as Casemiro. Because otherwise, it's going to be a real struggle to improve on the league position that we saw last season. So I think he's absolutely crucial. And it's a lot of pressure for him, but that's why you buy 28, 29-year-olds, because they can handle that. They've got the background and the experience. He has to hit the ground running for me.
Yeah.
And I think if he doesn't, it's going to be a can we get Champions League season rather than, a little wink towards...
No, I hear that. I hear the importance of Tielemans, and you know my thoughts on him.
The other one, and my final one, is Brian Mbeumo.
Okay, interesting on that.
We know he has the potential to get 15, 20 league goals. He got 20 for Brentford. Admittedly, he was taking penalties, which he won't be doing for us. But let's strip that back to 13, 14, 15 goals without penalties. I think he got 11 last season, which is pretty good. And he was a little bit patchy at times. He had the great trait, which is why I've put him above Acuna, for example, on this list of must do well, is that he's got this fantastic trait of scoring against the big teams.
Yeah,
he scored
all of them, wasn't it? Was it City, Liverpool and Arsenal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a phenomenal quality to have because he's so clinical and he's so just sort of get it out, shoot, goal. But if he has a bit of a dip, I think early in pre-season he looked a little bit sluggish, he looked a bit sloppy. He grew into pre-season, which is really encouraging.
Did it the right way around.
But I think if we are to push on this season, the left wing is a little bit uncertain. Is Cunha a left winger? Yes, I think he is, but he's not a traditional one. Rashford is the backup there. And Mbeumo, for me, whilst deputising at centre forward as well, most likely, in certain games if Sesko isn't fit, he has to have a really top season. I think he can, but I want to see him actually push on from last year. I think he will do that. He's getting to that age now, he's 27, I think, where he's going to sort of get to his prime. I think if he has a top season, I think if Tielemans does and Lomans does, we've got a really, really good chance of challenging for at least one trophy.
Yeah, I think that's fair what you've said with all of them. You obviously need your keeper to step up. You don't win anything with a keeper that's all over the gaff. Well, man, you might argue you won the FA Cup with Onana, but certainly not. You're not going to do anything in the league if your keeper's not mega reliable. And Lomans last season was that. I think he probably count on one hand the amount of mistakes he made. I just hope he bounces back from the World Cup, like you said. Look, Tielemans, great signing. I'm so buzzing with that one. But you want him to do the things that he is capable of doing, as you've mentioned. And Mbeumo is a funny one. I like Brian Mbeumo. I think he's a very good player. He did have a very, very difficult spell last season, towards the end of the season, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I know I think he scored later on, but I think he went, was it about 10 or maybe 11 games, whatever it was, without a goal, which when you consider when you're only playing 40 games in a season, is a long time.
It's a lot.
Now, look, people might go, well, Robin Van Persie did that in 2013. He did, but he had Wayne Rooney carrying the weight, and also Robin Van Persie still scored 29 goals that season. There's a difference. So we do need Brian Mbeumo to step up. But to be fair, I think he will. I think he's probably learned from last season, and there'll be a little bit more help this season with some of the players he's got around him. I hope so anyway. Mate says, mine's slightly different. Mine's, I think, players, like we said, on a bit of a crossroads. They need a good season this season. These are players that I love and I want to do well, but I think they need to show that. One is Martinez.
Yeah.
Lovely Sandro Martinez. Yeah. I don't need to labour the point. It's injuries. Now, I think Martinez could end up playing 25 games and still be considered a success if those are important games. You remember when he came in for the cup final against City, was mint and helped us win it. I'm not saying he just plays a cup final or whatever. You need to see him a bit more than that, but we need to see him stay fit for at least at least half the season.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are going to go, you can't rely on this guy. You can't get a centre-back partnership going with one of your players who's constantly out, especially when you want to throw De Ligt into the mix, who's also injured a lot. So I need to see Martinez more or less stay fixed. I think in terms of his ability, we know where he's at.
I agree with that. I think this is the last season where people will give him the benefit of the doubt, and at some point you just go, we love you, but we can't rely on you. I agree. It has to work for him this season.
Another player is someone you've sort of highlighted a couple of times over the years as someone who might even, end up leaving United. I think he'll stay and I think he'll do well, but he has to show it this season. That's Ahmad. He had a disappointing season last season. He really did. And the reason I love Ahmad, he's got everything about a Manchester United player I like. When he gets on the ball, he wants to make things happen. He always gets stuck in. He's always capable of sort of producing something out of nothing. We saw that, if you go back a little while ago, against City. There's that clip doing the rounds where he more or less, earned that win, didn't he? Yeah. Against Southampton with the hat-trick. He's got that in his locker. He didn't really turn up last season. We saw it in fits and starts, but it was a disappointing campaign. And I think if he was to have another one of those seasons, then people will go, he's not the levels we thought he would be. I don't think he will, but he needs to show that. And I think now we've got options. Hopefully he can rotate a bit more. Hopefully he doesn't spend half the season playing at wing back, which I don't think is his position that suits him. I know he did all right there, but he's not a wing back for me. He's an attacker. So I think we need to see Ahmad show a little bit more consistency. Because last season, I know it's not all about numbers, but his numbers were pretty horrific. Yeah. So we need to see him getting a few more goals and assists as well, and just being the player we know he can be. Because he's another one who can turn up against big teams. We've seen it. He just needs to do it. Yeah. And the final one is my favourite Manchester United player, a player I absolutely love, and it's Kobbie Mainoo. Now, the reason I'm putting Mainoo is Mainoo could have a bad season this season, or a quiet season, or not feature, and still stay at United. He's just, he signed a new deal. I don't think he's going to get sold. However, for him to be United's first choice midfielder, when he's got Santos, probably Belabor as well by the time the season comes around, and Tielemans as well. They're not all the same, but they're players vying for the same position as him. He needs to show something. He needs to show what he's about. And the Kobbie Mainoo we saw last season, I think, was the best version of Kobbie Mainoo. I thought he was fantastic under Michael Carrick. If he carries on playing like that, he'll start more or less every game that all the big games anyway. I think there'll always be an element of rotation. However, if he doesn't, if he gets leapfrogged by the likes of Santos, by Tielemans, maybe even Belabor, if he's like fourth choice, then that's going to be a difficulty for him, because he's going to have to think to himself, what am I doing here? What's going on? What's my role in this United team? Am I a squad player or am I a first teamer? So while I don't see him leaving, I think for his role to be a first team player for Manchester United, he needs a big season this season. I think he's capable of it. I think he'll do it, but it needs to happen. So I'm just going to be watching Mainoo with a lot of sort of keener eye, because the amount of midfielders have come in, and seeing if Michael Carrick finds a combination that works with Kobbie Mainoo, because I think he will, but it's not going to be easy, because there's an argument to be made. It could be either him or Tielemans alongside either Santos or Belabor. So if he's up against Youri Tielemans, player you've already said, if United are going to win things, he needs to turn up. That could be a difficulty for Kobbie Mainoo, but these are the sort of challenges that you should embrace as a Manchester United player. These are the challenges you should embrace as a player in a team that is challenging at the very top. You should want a player who's as good as you vying for your position. Yeah. That's what keeps you strong. That's what keeps you successful. We had it. I always go back to the Nicky Butt analogy. Nicky Butt, when everyone's fit, sometimes he didn't even start. But he's a club legend who played hundreds of games and won the lot at Manchester United. So I think you have to remember that. I think as a player at United, if we are going to challenge, which I think we will, Mainoo's going to have some competition, and he's got to be ready to show them that he's the main man. He can be the main man for Manchester United, and I hope he will be. Let us know. Get involved in the chat in the comments about the players that we've both mentioned. Any other players you want to sort of highlight, you think either need to turn up this season for us to win things, or for their own good? They need to sort of show us what they're about this season. There's quite a lot in both categories, isn't there? Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can highlight anyone, obviously. Yeah. I just think, like you said, I think those guys in particular, you want them to be successful. Yeah. And this season is probably going to be a decisive one in just how successful they are.
Yeah. I mean, we could have named... I was looking at players that are on a bit of a crossroad. You could have said, I don't know, Sesko or Mount or De Ligt. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah. The amount of players that need a good season this season... I'm not saying Sesko's bad last season, but we want to see the second season if it's if he can kick on a little bit. So there's loads of players in that category, but we've highlighted our main three. Let's get into Predict 11s. Before we do though, get your phone out, son.
Yes, so send in your pre-match predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com, just like this, on your phone, in landscape, 30 seconds, and send them to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. They'll all be played out before the watch-along, so you can get in and get your predictions in before the new season. Send them into paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Lovely.
Right, let's get into predicted 11s.
Great stuff.
Now, we'll start with you, Joseph.
Okay.
We have to consider that with recording this, I'm going to give you a little caveat, before the press, so we don't know the full ins and outs of the squad, but we can sort of work it out from what we've seen in pre-season, who's available, who isn't, who we expect to start, who United have signed, who actually plays for United is always an advantage when you're picking your predicted 11 I've found. So give us your predicted 11 and the reasons behind it all.
Yeah, I've gone with Lomans in goal, obviously. My back four, it was a bit of a tricky one because Martinez is fit, but not fully fit. We've seen Yoro a lot pre-season, but I think he's going to go Dallo, I think sort of picks himself, and I think it's going to be Maguire and Heaven as that back two, with Shaw on the left-hand side again, pretty sort of self-explanatory until someone else comes in. I've gone with them two just because, like I said, I think Maguire's a cert if he's fit, and I think between Heaven and Yoro, Heaven's the only one that's played centre-back the whole time, basically.
Yeah.
And also, back to Martinez, I just don't think he'll risk him from the start in the opener when he's only played sort of a little bit of game time so far. So I'm gone with that as a back four. Then the midfield, again, it's back to that same question we just had about Mainu and all that. But again, I think just pre-season game time will trump whatever we think about Kobbie Mainu. So I think it's going to be Tielemans and Santos in there.
Yeah.
Santos has been ever present. He's been excellent in pre-season. I think he, one of the first names on the team sheet for this game. And I think it'll be Tielemans in there. Mason Mount injured. Don't know if he'll be back, but certainly not going to be fully fit. And then you've got Baleba not in yet, and then Mainu, who hasn't played many minutes at all.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it'll be them. Bruno, of course, no questions there. And then the front three is a bit of a tricky one because we've seen a lot of Dorgu. Obviously, Sesko is supposedly going to be back, but we've not seen anything from him. So I've gone on Burmo down the middle, which again is part of the reason why I think he's so important this season. I think he probably will be the backup striker most of the time. That means Ahmad on the right, and I've gone Cunha on the left. Again, he's not played a lot in pre-season, but I think we know that Carrick relies on him and trusts him, especially in the games that we expect to win. I think he likes what Cunha brings in terms of his ball playing, ball striking from the edge of the box. If Hull are going to sit back a little bit, I think Cunha sort of trumps Dorgu a little bit on some of those fronts. So that's what I think he's going to go for.
Yeah, I can see that all makes sense to me, to be honest with you. You look at pre-season, you look at what's gone on with the World Cup as well, players coming back a little bit later, how much game time they've had, how many players or some players where you might have a slight injury concern over them just long term as well. So it's like, let's bring them in slowly, not aggravate anything. I get it. And also I think that with all due respect, when it's Hull, you're probably willing a little bit more to go, okay, I can risk it somewhat. If this player is slightly better than that player but he's not fit, I'll go with the other player. I'll go with the one that is fully fit. So I think if this was, say, I don't know, City or whatever, you'd probably go, right, what is my strongest possible 11? Like, who are my best players? I don't think you'll be thinking like that now. You'll be looking at match fitness, who's got some slight injury concerns, even long-term ones where you go, let's not risk him for this one. So I do feel, with all due respect, you can get away with it a little bit. Mine's very similar to you. I've got Lomans in goal, I've got Luke Shaw at left back, Maguire, Heaven and Dalot make up the rest of the back four. Santos and Tielemans, you've already mentioned. Bruno in front of him, obviously. I've gone Paddy Dorgu on the left-hand side, as the song says, because I think that he's played a lot in pre-season. He's looked quite decent in pre-season, and I think he'll get a start. I think Carrick likes Dorgu. I think he really does. I do. There's still a debate going on as to, is he going to end up as a left winger or is he going to end up playing as a left back? Now, if United don't sign a left-back, there's a chance he might end up playing there, especially with Rashford in the squad. However, I still feel that Michael Carrick sees him as a left winger, and I think he likes him in that role, so I think he'll start there. I've got Brian and Bumo on the right. Ahmad, I love him. We've already spoken about him. I think this season we're going to see a lot of rotation going on with the amount of games we've got, and also it's not the end of the world if you don't start against Hull. And then I've got Matheus Cunha up front.
Okay.
Just because I think with Dorgu on that left-hand side and Bumo on the right, it suits Cunha being up top rather than putting Cunha on the right and Bumo up top, if that all makes sense to you. Because we don't think Benjamin Sesko, as you've already mentioned, is going to be fit. Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think about Joe's team, about my team. Give us your own teams. Let us know whether you think we've both got it wrong and this is the predicted. Remember, it's the predicted 11 as well. It's the team we think Michael Carrick will pick. Now, we've got something a little bit different when it comes to looking at the opposition. We've actually gone and spoken to the assistant head coach, which I can't believe we're saying this, right?
No.
Because usually, like, if we're going to push the boat out on this channel when it comes to opposition, we might speak to another fan, a rival fan, another podcaster who covers the club, not someone who helps pick the team. and come up with the tactics. But Dean Holden, who is a big Manchester United fan, he's watches the channel. He came into the studio, had a chat with us. He's got his own YouTube channel as well, Holding It Together. There's a link in the chat, a link in the description for that one as well. And he's a good lad. He's from Salford. You got to love him. Here's what he had to say about not just Hull City and their aspirations for the season and this game, but about being a Red and about a little bit about his channel as well, and about his life. It's a really fascinating watch. Let's get into it.
Right then, we are joined by Dean Holden, assistant head coach at Hull City, which is a fantastic privilege having someone on who actually works for the club that United are going to be playing at the weekend. Start of the season then, there's so much to think about, so much to get into. But the first question I should ask is, how can United beat Hull? No, genuinely though, how much prep goes into...
Sound like most of my family the last couple of weeks since the fixtures come out.
We'll get into all that. But obviously there's so much to sort of focus on from your side of things. How much of your focus has been on Manchester United and this particular game, and how much of it is sort of general stuff throughout pre-season?
Yeah, for those that don't know, this time 12 months ago, we were the bookmakers and the so-called experts with relegation favourites, candidates to get relegated to League One, and we obviously, with an embargo, got to the Premier League unbelievably. We've actually, since the fixtures come out, had a month to prepare for United going into the playoff final. Those that remember Spygate, we had 48 hours to prepare for Middlesbrough. We had 12 days focusing on Southampton, and then so it's been pretty easy really, because we had a month to kind of get our teeth into it. So we obviously watched all the games. One of the guys was in Dublin last week. I would have loved to have gone myself to the Leeds game, but couldn't get over unfortunately. But so we watched all the games pre-season. It's a tricky period this, because of ins and outs, and there still could be ins and outs at both clubs before kick-off. So you never quite know going into that first game, you know, what the starting lineup's going to be. Obviously Michael at the weekend against AC Milan, was it 5 or 6 subs at half time, so he's still rotating his team, so it'd be impossible almost to sort of guess their starting 11, but we obviously know pretty much everything we need to know in terms of the style and the way that we think they're going to set up them. It's weird calling them them.
What's it like for you as a United fan, Dean? Because especially when those fixtures are announced and you look at it and it's like, opening game is against Manchester United. That must have been a bit of a funny feeling.
Written in the stars. I got the Charlton job about 3 years, just over 3 years ago now. My very first day was when was the quarter final of the Carabao Cup draw, and we drew United at Old Trafford, and that was my first day as the manager. So
that's mad.
It was probably only ever going to get worse after that. So yeah, again, surreal. Phone's gone mad. As you know, I've been struggling to get here for time. I've been getting across from Hull, and even then the phone's been going for tickets. So that's probably the biggest stress I've got, is trying to get everyone in the stadium, whether it's in the home end or the away end, I'll be honest with you.
Can you imagine? It's just looking at Hull going into this season. You've spoken about how no one had any expectations for you outside the club last season. People looking at you going, you know, got much of a chance. It's going to be similar, I think, from the media, from pundits. You know that rival fans will be looking at it and going, Hull could be the whipping boys. How does that feel to you? Does that sort of motivate you? Look at it and go, look, we've been here before. There's expectations there, or
yeah, I think so. I think when you talk about managers and staff, and you want your personality to be on the pitch. Now, I'll give you a little bit of insight into our gaffer, Sergei Yakirovic. He's not really that well known, other than coming into England a year ago. He's worked in Bosnia and obviously Croatia and Turkey. I actually came up against him in Turkey a couple of years ago, and he was trying to get one of our lads sent off, you know, the Di Canio one.
Oh, one of them ones.
And I looked across, but I forgot I wasn't in England, I was in Turkey. Well, it's not what we do. Well, they do in Turkey, to be fair. Right. And he come marching over, all 6'5" of him, into our technical area. So, I mean, it's not rugby, is it? You're never going to start throwing punches, so I knew it was pretty safe. So I went toe-to-toe to him. And last summer when he got the job, he was interviewing English coaches. The club wanted an English coach who'd been a manager who knew the Championship. And one of his coaches, Marco, said, "That's that fella that we came up against." And he said, "Yeah, I like." The club I went to was minus 22 points. They had loads of financial problems, and so he liked it that I was still scrapping for 3 points, even though the club was already well. Which is what we do over here, isn't it? But obviously in other countries, it's probably not the way to do it. So he's come from that era that we grew up with unfortunately, with the war and things going over his head, going to school, and so he's black and white. He reminds me of, he's very old school. He's a bit of Big Sam in there that I had at Bolton. There's probably a little bit of Sir Alex in there initially. He's just honest as they come with the players, and we recruited a load of players who were similar. Lads who've kind of done the hard yards and got up through the levels. There's not many superstars in there, if any. So that personality's on the pitch. We found that last season, even in games. The XG and all the data nowadays was well against us in most games last year, but we found ways to win. We've got a lot of personality. So I think we'll go, if we're going to go down in any game, we'll go down fighting. There's no doubt about that. And I think I wouldn't want to compare ourselves to any other team, but like in Iraola last year, like the Bournemouth, like we've give me a little bit of tactics now. Not that Michael or Woody or Steve are listening, but wants his team to play forward and run forward, and it's not all about 30-40 passes around our back four, nothing like that. It's an honest, old-fashioned, I suppose, which I like, style of football. So I'm sure there'll be fans in the Premier League that'll enjoy. Not saying we'll be everyone's second favourite team, but I think there'll be teams that'll be rooting for us just based on the manager's character, the way he engages the media.
Yeah.
He's belting to listen to, and he's very, very straight.
In terms of United, then obviously, and I mean this with the greatest of respect. I think,
go on.
No, but I think some people will look at, you're playing a promoted side as the first game of the season. Obviously, less Premier League experience than most of the other teams there. Some fans will have gone, a chance to sort of start off on the right foot. But I personally look at this as such a difficult start to a season, especially you've got momentum, you've got this kind of attitude of people didn't expect a lot from us last season, maybe the same this season. Like, are you going out there to try and, I know you try and win every game, but do you see it the same way, where it's almost the perfect opportunity where if you win, it's a huge start to your season, and if you lose, maybe it's not, the end of the world kind of thing. It's a great position for you to be in.
Good question. I think a couple of the teams last year, you sort of look at Sunderland, Leeds. Sunderland in particular picked up points early. They were a bit of a surprise package.
Yeah.
Obviously, they invested heavily late in the window. That gives confidence, I think, as much to the fan base as it does the people at the training ground, the players, the staff. But what we need to make sure, I think, that we continue to do throughout the season, we know the last 10, 15, 20 years of the Premier League what it looks like to stay up. That's our objective, is to stay up. It's the most difficult thing to do in the first years, and we know what that looks like from a points point of view, from a clean sheets. So Man United at home is not going to define our season. We need to make sure that if we do lose a game or take a bit of a hiding here and there, that could happen to any club, that we don't let it kind of derail us and let we lose confidence. We need to make sure we manage the bumps in the road, and we know the games that we particularly got our eye on to really go for 3 points. And obviously, first game it's a free hit. We could surprise Man United with, in terms of they might not know loads about us, who knows. So it's about players on the day. Managers set teams up. I've been there as a manager, been there as a coach for many years now. You set your team up. You never know what's going to happen when that whistle goes. It's about 1v1 duels. It's about how you defend set pieces, and it's about momentum. United have got a lot of top players in the team, as we know, in the squad. So it's going to be obviously a massive challenge. But we can't wait for it. It's took us long enough to get here, so we're going to enjoy it.
What do you make of the team and the job that Michael Carrick's done in particular? You mentioned him a couple of times. Like, obviously, we know what happened last season. It was a very sort of up and down under Ruben Amorim. Carrick's come in. The form was top of the league in terms of the form, and everyone was buzzing again. What have you made of the job he's done, and does that make your job harder because you're facing a United team now that's sort of looking, a lot better under Michael Carrick than it was previously?
They've got a lot of good structure. I'm not going to criticise any coach because I know myself how tough a job it is. It wasn't a great watch under Ruben, was it? It was. No. I think the time had come. I think most people would agree with that. Michael's come in, and I heard it on the way here on the radio. I wanted to mention it. It's a little bit unfair on him. He almost gets, people want to label people all the time, and he's in the old Ole Gunnar Solskjaer box, isn't he? Not this superstar. I think Jamie Carragher's been on today talking about. Doesn't think. I didn't take long to get into the Scousers there, did I?
Well done, Dean. Come back on this channel anytime you want.
We'll see that game.
I worked with, obviously worked with one of their the greatest ever, Stevie G, out in Saudi Arabia. So total respect for him. In fairness, they're like us, the grafters who scrap and fight for everything. That's why I think we go against each other. But why have I got into that? But Carragher was talking about he thinks Michael can get him towards Champions League, but he's not sure he can get him to win the league. And I think that's unfair on English coaches.
Yeah,
I really believe it. There's these foreign lads that come in. I'm certainly not talking about Sergei, as I've already touched on his personality, but I think they come in with these all singing, all dancing ideas and philosophies, and they've got big coaching staffs. Michael's been very, very smart with his staff. Steve Holland obviously has got people in the game huge amount of respect for him tactically, how he sets his team up. And I know from people, there's a couple at Hull actually that played for him at Middlesbrough, who label him at the very, very top. I don't know him personally, but I like his demeanour. He obviously, listen, he'd have to answer this as a man. He's been as a manager and a player, but walking out of the tunnel and playing for Man United in the team that he played in for all those years. You're talking about pressure every 3 days, aren't you? Going away from home with that army of following behind you. So he stood up to that and played with a cigar most of the times, didn't he?
No,
played in the midfield.
He's one of your favourite players, isn't he?
Top player. So for him to be able to do that and keep his team nice and calm in the tough moments, I think he's been a brilliant appointment. I was delighted when he got the job full time, I'll be honest.
Yeah, you've sort of mentioned that yourself, haven't you? Like, there's this sort of air around Carrick where I almost don't think he gets enough credit for what he did when he came in, and people sort of assuming he's keeping the job warm almost for.
Well, there was a pile-on, weren't there? I remember Gary Neville was a pile-on, weren't there, that he's never going to get the job full time, shouldn't get the job full time, and I don't think you can underestimate the job he did. People say it's easy. I don't think it is.
No.
I think that going in after Sir Alex was obviously very tough. I think Enzo going in at Man City after Pep is very, very tough, but you've still got a top group of players. I think Michael came in at a time, confidence was clearly low. And you guys, you watch the team much more than I do nowadays, but that weren't an easy job coming in and doing what he did and having that form that you talked about there, like almost top of the league form throughout the second half of the season. So it gathered momentum. And like I said there, I was delighted for him that he got the gig, and I think he deserves a right good crack at it.
I couldn't agree more.
Just as a sort of general coaching question, when you have an opposition, obviously you've got Man United coming up this weekend. When you go out to look at weaknesses, to look at sort of ways to beat Man United, which is obviously the aim of the game, how much of it is emphasising your own team's strengths? How much of it is looking at the ways, let's say, AC Milan, were successful against us at the weekend, and how much of it is just a general feeling of the occasion of the day and what you think will work? Like, how do you sort of focus your attention on how to beat Manchester United, for instance?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when we're looking back at previous games, last 5-6 games that they played opposition, you tend to try to look at teams that are playing a similar formation to you and what that looks like from the pictures, because ultimately you're presenting to the players. Probably much easier in the Premier League because the players will probably get a little bit more through the TV and etc. and social media. They'll get a lot more. Sometimes you'll be playing against a team, I don't know, a Millwall or a Preston in the Cup that some of the players might not know too much about. So I always think your pictures that you show, I typically present to the players. Sergei always likes my sort of English tone, and saying that we've signed a few foreigners this summer, so I have to get the Duolingo out, I think. But it's very much around, so the Leeds game previously in Dublin, and obviously AC Milan at the weekend, they played the Ruben 3-4-3, so that might not suit in terms of the way, without giving too much away, what that looks like. But again, it's not so much about formations, it's about how Man United build the game. Typically it's about how they react when they lose the ball. Are they going to go after you pretty quick? Are they going to drop low mid block? All that type of stuff. So you've got to sell it to the players in a way that it's our strengths against their weaknesses and vice versa. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, it does. I think with a game like this as well, I think the atmosphere is going to be a big factor in it. I suppose that the Hull fans are going to be so up for this one, opening game against one of the biggest clubs, not for us, the biggest club in the league certainly. I mean, I can expect a bit of an atmosphere, that's safe to say.
They were great for us last year, and I think, having been a fan myself, having been up and down the country and got back late and had a good hiding here and there, and then I kind of know what it feels like, and I think that's probably why I've connected at so many, certainly at Hull, Bristol City, and particularly Charlton. You can almost feel what it feels like to be a fan. I try to talk to them in that language, but they were great for us last year. So it's easy to say, the fans were great. They were great for us because at times we did struggle at times last year. They got us over the line, and never more so than at Wembley. I mean, at Wembley we had, I think Middlesbrough had 70% of the ball at times in that game, and we sat tight, and they got the players over the line. You can give the players energy. Fans need to know that, how they can help players. You know what I mean? Going into games, and then we obviously had the open top bus tour. There was thousands, as you'd expect, in the city centre. I nearly said town centre. Then I've had a lashing for that before now. So in the city centre, you know why that is? I was on radio yesterday with my missus, and we was talking about. I'm sure we'll come on to our show. We was talking about it, and she said something at the town. I said, no, it's a city. We're gonna get a load of, as Dicey calls them, a load of keyboard warriors. But that's because we always said, because we've grown up in Salford, me and Danielle, we're from Swinton. If we're ever going on a big one back in the day, we'd always say we're going to town.
Well, we say
even
that,
though, even though it's a city. She called it a Manchesterism.
Meet you in town, yeah.
Exactly.
Like, that's what you're saying, it. But
exactly.
I know.
So
I know how people can be. I used to work in Preston, and people didn't like it because they've been given city status. If you said town, they'd go mad.
Get on the right horse, don't they?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it was a ropey one that. I
love that. like it matters. I guess if you're a smaller city, you might feel a little bit like everyone disrespecting us all the time, so fair enough.
Can I just ask you, mate, you mentioned there earlier about Sunderland and how well they did, and I think everyone was sort of surprised. And just this season, do you feel confident that you could surprise a few people and and stay up? No disrespect, well listen, staying up is obviously, you mentioned it yourself, the priority. Do you feel like a bit of confidence about that? Because everyone's underestimating it, and you look at it, you think, okay, people did the same in Sunderland a year ago, and look how they did. They didn't just stay up, they stayed up by some distance.
They're in Europe.
I know. Yeah. Like, they smashed it.
I mean, it's not blind confidence. It's personally, you believe in. I'd never have become a footballer if I didn't believe myself. You have your wobbles, you have your down times, but 0.1% of kid coming out of Swinton to become a professional footballer is pretty difficult to do. So you get that inner confidence, and I think it's important that you give that to your players. I played under managers thinking back that you're going up against a big team. It's almost like you're playing Real Madrid every week. And you're like, we've got a chance in it. And I think you've got to give that confidence to players, but players sniff, you swear on it, players sniff bullshit pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. Which, when I was an assistant manager and then the very next day became the manager, unfortunately the manager lost his job. If I'd have changed overnight the players, I played with 3 of them, they'd have been going, who's this fella?
Right.
You know what I mean? They can sniff right through. So you've got to be genuine with it. But I've always took confidence from preparation, me. And if you're prepared well enough, you're as fit as you can be. The lads have come back flying, I'll be honest with you. They had a great 5 days in Vegas on the back of the promotion.
We've done that, haven't we?
As you can imagine.
Yeah, I did that a few years ago.
I turned it down, can you believe it? I had the chance to go, and I said, I'm glad actually, because you never know what can happen on the back.
Well, this is it, yeah.
It could be the best summer ever turning out to be. You get dragged into something, you know what I mean? You get away with it as a player, can't you?
You've got to keep your distance from certain things.
I took my 2 sons to Ibiza instead. I was up for a midlife crisis.
That was all right.
It's
not too shabby, is it?
You mentioned the YouTube channel. You mentioned your sort of media stuff. You got a show holding it together. Tell us a little bit about
that. So my wife's a TV presenter, Danielle. I've touched on already. We've been talking about doing something together as a family for a while now. We met a production company a couple of years ago. It just didn't. I'm going to say something really strange. It just didn't feel quite right. Do you know what I mean, Jay? Just didn't feel.
Mate. We've all
this
been
time
there.
round. It was Danielle's first when she worked on CITV all them years ago with Stephen Malone. It was her very first boss. That's now the exec on for our show, so she's got total trust in him.
Right.
We've got complete. There was a TV company in early doors. There was a little bit. There was never a contract on offer, but there was a little bit of money talked about to put it onto prime time, and it never quite got to the yes or no stage. But ultimately, we've got complete control over this. And Danielle said from day one, you're in a serious business. You want to be a top manager again in the future. Being a manager, you want to be a top manager in the future, and we don't want to do anything that's going to harm that.
Right,
we're inviting the cameras into our house. We've not got them there full time. They come probably every month. Other than that, we film it ourselves. We've got 4 young kids. We've had 5. You know our story. Unfortunately, we lost our daughter Cece back in 2012, 17 months old. So,
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. There's a little bit of a backstory there with childhood sweethearts who went to the same school and got married and we're playing the game of life pretty well. I say she was on TV 5 times a week to 5 million people, and I was playing for Bolton, and then bang, we lost CC literally in an hour and a half on holiday in Lanzarote. And for a long time we were just wanting. I'd come in from training, I'd lock the door. It's 4 o'clock. Lock the door, shut the. And we didn't want to know. We just wanted to keep everything boring and safe and calm.
Yeah.
And on the back of COVID, I suppose, we've kind of come out the other side now. And our oldest is 19, 17. They're 2 young footballers, Joey and Ellis. Mitzi's 12. She's just won medals for England at the Dance World Cup. And little Chase he could be anything. Chase. He wants to be a YouTuber. Who's 8. So we think we've got enough characters.
Don't tell him to do that.
We think we've got enough characters joking aside. Why would the viewer? Why would you watch us? Because there's hundreds of as you guys know, it's hard graft, isn't it, to get something up and running. So I think there's enough characters in the house for the viewers to kind of get engaged with. But it is risky bringing the cameras into your house. But we think the kids are ready, and we think we've got a. If I'd have answered that question a couple of years ago, we as I say, we were surviving, we were struggling. We'd put a smile on and we were trying for our kids. But now, listen, that's always going to be there for us. But I really think we've got a tale of like hope.
Yeah.
And a bit of inspiration behind it, whereby you can suffer something so devastating, but you can hopefully come out the other side. We talk so openly. If you watched, there's a show. At the end of last season, we went down to London. We lost the penultimate game of the season. We lost to Charlton. And we were going to a gala dinner that night in London. We were presenting an award actually at a baby loss charity. So we were ambassadors and we got invited. And she didn't want to pay for the parking at this posh hotel, right? So we ended up at the NCP. So I dropped her at the front of the hotel. The lads who are watching this can relate to this. 500 yards down the road, I'm out at the NCP. I've got suit carriers. I've got a suitcase. I gets to the room and she's like, "Where's my dress?" And if anyone's watched our show, you'll see. And I'd lost the dress on this trip. It was the FA Cup semi-final. I think City played Southampton or whatever it was. London was rammed, boiling hot. And you think someone had sat me on the shoulder and gone, "Mate, you dropped the dress."
Mate, it's London, isn't it?
And I went all the way back. I was looking for about an hour. And the reason I tell that story, the camera crew were with us, and they said, "Just before you get ready, leave your door on the latch and we'll come in and see you coming out." I had black tie on and all that. And as they come in the door, we were going at each other, hammering like full steam. And they were going to edit it out of the show, and we said, "No, we've said we'll do this." It's honestly, so we're proper going for each other.
I can imagine you was right in the doghouse.
And she's a right gobshite, Danielle, when she gets going. So I think that's hopefully what's going to come across, is that love that we've got for each other, that normality. Like Gordon Ramsay's, I think, is brilliant documentary. Obviously Beckham's, Michael Owen's just got one out. Don't think many of them are that real.
Well, you can tell it's authentic.
We've not got a mansion. Listen, we've done well for ourselves. We've not got a big mansion. It's not scripted, and that's part of the reason we wanted to keep it as ours, where one came out yesterday. We had to pull it because it was something that we weren't quite sure of, and we just took a few. So we've got full editorial control of it, which I think is really important, actually, to keep. Not that we're control freaks or anything, but we can keep what goes out there. But we're very keen on keeping it raw and honest. And anyone watching it anywhere in the country or the world, look at me, YouTube's going around the world here, look. You can watch it and go, I can kind of relate to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
so hopefully it helps people at home there. Because we get that many messages going, I heard you on the radio, I heard you talking about losing a child, I heard you about, we've spoke about marriage counselling, like we were up, 88% of marriages finish inside 2 years of losing a child, so we're at 12%. We were on the floor and we found a way, but it's not been easy, and we talk about that a lot. And we do get a lot of people that say, thanks for saying that, or that's really helped me. And that's pretty cool when you get that.
I was going to say, what's that
mean?
If
it can help one person, again, it sounds a bit cliche, but
no,
it does mean a lot. It really does, because I say it was going 12 years ago, probably dragging this out a bit too long now, apologies for that.
Yeah, no, daft. There
was nothing for us. We got back from Lanzarote, and it was almost like someone just gone, right, there's no manual, you get on with it. And I stumbled across, when you walk past the post office and you got there's a cat that's gone missing, there's a phone number, and you've got a bike for sale and all that. And there was a number, and it was a counselling thing, and I rang it. It's the best thing I ever did. It was like a parent support group.
Right.
And it's the best thing we did, because we just found that we weren't the aliens. There was other people in the room, unfortunately, who'd been through all kinds of things, Hillsborough victims, parents, and all kinds of stuff. But it's the only place that we felt normal once a month. Because Mum and Dad were there and they wanted to keep, but no one really knew what to say, and people would avoid you, and because no one knew how to handle it.
I can
so the best thing you can do, anyone, again, look at me here giving big up, come on to talk about United and all.
No.
Just ask about the person. We've talked before about Webby, weren't we?
Yeah.
Just ask about the person that's passed, and you know what, I'm really sorry about that. And it might not be that you know them that well, but or mention the name, or write the name on the card at Christmas, and all that sort of stuff really genuinely helps.
Yeah. No, I mean, your channel, what I love about it is authentic. Proper, telling you Daniel compliment from Salford. Yeah. And I mean that as a compliment.
No, I know you do.
Yeah, it is. It's really authentic. It's really entertaining. It's honest. Thank you. I love that, and your kids are great. It's great to see you doing well. It's great to see you doing well, Dean, but I don't want you to do well this week. I'm not going to go that far. Do you know what I mean? So, hopefully, United back you, but thanks for coming on. This is so bizarre for us, because it's the first time we've ever had someone from a team just ahead of the game talk to us about the team and talk to us about the club. But it's been great having you on. It's great we do, and hopefully we can get you on again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It'd be good to get you on, because I know you've worked with other people that we know. You worked with Steve. You've been doing a few bits and pieces, so it'd be great to get you on and have a chat with you as well.
Thanks,
and there's a link in the description as well for Holding It Together. Go and check out their channel. It's a fantastic channel. Go and check them out. Really good chat.
And it would be remiss of me not to ask before we go, because we end our show with a score prediction.
Oh, yeah.
Could I please get your score prediction for the game?
That's the one thing I didn't think you'd ask me. Hopefully a home win. I'm sure United can get away through the season with a first defeat, can't we? I'm sure they can recover from that, can't they? I'm sure they can. We'll take a home win.
Do you know the meltdown that's going to cause? Hey, if we lose the only game.
It will be exciting, but not in a good way. Right, Dean, as Jay said, thank you very much for coming on the show.
What a guy, man. I loved it. Loved chatting. Do you know what? I actually got to the point at one point during that chat where I was like, I almost want him to win.
It'd be nice if he did that, wouldn't
it? It'd be nice if he got a draw and you're like, no. Obviously I want United to batter them.
Yes, exactly. And now we know how to.
Yeah, well now he's just he's giving us all the secrets. But that was a really, really good chat. And if you can, go and check out the link to his channel. It is good stuff. It's really entertaining. They're all dead honest. It's just a real good laugh. Yeah. And also, he covers quite a lot of interesting topics there, as you mentioned there. He's been through a lot, Dean Holden, but what a great guy. And, after today, I wish him well for the season. And who knows with Hull, we saw it with Sunderland, didn't we? Yeah. They can be a surprise package. And I think you've got to remember that, and it's worth remembering as United fans and as the team as well. Can't take this game for granted, because if they get anything out of it, they're going to be buzzing. And also, if you don't beat Hull on the opening day, as you found out when we met on the overlap, the knives will be out for Michael Carrick, weren't it? It's like people couldn't wait to get stuck into him. Right, with all that being said, Joseph, give me your score prediction.
I love this. First one of the season. I do think we're going to win. I think Hull are decent. I don't like that we're playing them away.
No.
That's a huge difference to playing them at home first game of the season, because they're going to be so up for it that it's not even funny. But I think we'll find a way. I think I don't want to say underwhelming because I think we're going to have to play well to win. So I think it'll be a 2-1 win. A little bit scrappy, but I think United will comfortably deserve it and come away with 3 points. 2-1.
Okay, I like that. I completely agree with everything you've just said, so I'm going to go 3-1 United.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think United will get a win. I think there might be a moment where we go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, that Hull get a goal like an equaliser with 40 minutes left, and you're like, crikey, is this going to be one of those days or whatever? But I think United, with the quality we've got, with the amount of players, good players we've got at our disposal as well, because we should have some decent players on the bench if we need them as well.
There should be tons on
them. So I do feel we'll have a little bit too much full. And also, this is their first game in the Premier League for a long time. For a lot of these players, it's the first game in the Premier League ever. So I feel like United should have that advantage. And let's not forget, we ended the season, top of the form league as well. So it's going to be a tough ask for Hull. So I think United should prevail. Brilliant. Don't forget, send us your score predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. 30 seconds in landscape. And we'll use that as part of our pre-match build-up on the watch-along. The watch-along is going to be me, Joe, Finn and Ronnie. Have all the big hitters there. Plus we'll be getting the reaction from all the usual suspects as well. Go and check him out on the Sloppy Joes podcast. Go and check Dean Holden out, Holding It Together. There's a link in the description for him as well.
Before we end, if you are a member of the channel, go and check out our Fantasy Premier League. You can go and get the link to that in the member section, in the community tab. Go in there and you can join up. And if you win it, you get £100. So you might as well join. And if you're not a member, hit the join button underneath. For a few quid a month, you get extra videos. You get our post-match score player ratings as well.
Yep,
every single game, so you can get all that. And also we'll be doing a series alongside the FPL, so make sure you go and check that out if you haven't already. Go and look at it.
The good thing as well with that fantasy football league is you are guaranteed not to finish bottom, because I'm in it.
Yeah.
So there's no way you can finish bottom. That's already taken.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
You've got Holden in your team.
I've got Arthur Albiston at fullback.
No one knows how you've done it, but you have. And you can't trade him out. It's unbelievable.
Jim Leighton's my goalkeeper.
Amazing.
It's just a disaster. Right, I'm going to leave it there. That's been Joe Smith. I'm Jay Motty. This has been a preview. Manchester United versus Hull. Thanks for watching.
Come on.